ladies and gentlemen, we are here today in this conference because we believe in the importance of human resources in an organization. And today we should be very grateful because our first guest speaker is actually from Institute of Labor Market Information and Analysis, or in short, ILMIA. For your information, ILMIA is an institution that produces a lot of analysis on labor market trends and emerging human capital issues. And it aims to provide better human capital planning and effective labor market policies formulations for the country. So I'm sure it's going to be a very interesting keynote speech. And therefore, if you have any question, please type your questions in the comment area and we will select you and it will be discussed during the Q&A sessions. So without further delay, I would like to call Madam Dati Hassan, a Senior Director from Institute of Labor Market Information Analysis, to share her speech on labor market studies. Please welcome Puan Betty.
Thank you very much, Dr. Azlin. Thank you to the organizer for inviting me to deliver my keynote speaker for this International Virtual Conference on Human Resource Development. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang dihormati Profesor Datuk TS Dr. Ahmad Fauzi Ismail, Lab Chancellor Universiti Teknologi Malaysia UTM. Profesor Dr. Zaidatun Tasir, Dekan Fakulti Sains Sosial dan Kemanusiaan UTM. Profesor Madya Dr. Siti Aisyah Abdul Rahman, Pengerusi Sekolah Pembangunan Sumber Manusia dan Psikologi, Fakulti Sains Sosial dan Kemanusiaan UTM. Yang berusaha Dr. Zulkifli Khair, Pengarah Program ICHRD 2021 dan juga fellow participants, students yang bersama-sama mengikuti kita punya program pada pagi ini. Okay, as mentioned by Madam Moderator just now, I'll be talking about labor issues in Malaysia. Even though the conference is titled as Human Resource Development, maybe most of you will think that I will focus more on human resource, is reskilling, upskilling and whatnot. But I feel that it's important for me to talk about holistically all the labor issues in Malaysia, of course, including the aspect of human resource development in Malaysia. So the next one, my presentation outline will be divided into 3 areas. The next slide. The labor market landscape, the labor market pillars, and also focus area in which I will talk about job creation scenario, human resource development, labor administration and industrial relations, and also social protection and occupational safety and health. And of course, the last one is the way forward. Next slide. Okay, we go straight to labor market landscape 2020, the next slide. If you can see here, the labor force in the data for 2020 is actually at December 2020, is not for the whole year of 2020. I must remind you on that. Okay, for the labor force, we can see that in 2020, we have 15.98 million labor force. Labor force is persons between the age of 15 to 64 years old, whether working or unemployed, employed or unemployed. And outside labor force, we have around 7.3 million. This is the people neither employed or employed, nor unemployed, and not having no job, and also not looking for a job. I think mainly in this group is particularly those retirees, students going to school, and also homemaker categories. We have unemployed persons at 15.215 million, and we have unemployed persons of 772,000. That is the data as at December 2020. And you can see there's also unemployment rate in Malaysia from 2011 until 2020. But of course, for 2020, it's just until December of 2020, where we have the unemployment rate increased to 4.5 million in 2020. As you can see, we have a very relatively low unemployment rate, where it is only hovering around 3.1% until 3.3%, which shows that we actually we have the full employment scenario in Malaysia. But unfortunately, until last year, December 2020, the unemployment rate increased to 4.5 million. All right. This and then if you look at the right side, the labor force participation rate, you can see that the participants entering the labor market continues to grow steadily across the years, from 64 to 68.4% in 2020. The next slide. Also on labor market landscape, This chart explains Malaysia's economic ability to create jobs for growing population, and the average rate of ratio has been hovering around 66%, if you can see from there, 66.1% since 2018. However, you can see that the COVID-19 scenario portrays a declining growth trend for this ratio since March 2020, where it contracts to 64.4% in May 2020, which is the lowest ratio since 2013, March of 2013. This is the lowest ratio that we are facing because of the COVID-19. There is a sharp decline of employed persons from 15.2 million to 14.9 million in May 2020. This is due to lack of job creation and employed opportunities mainly due to the MCO that was enforced by the government last year. All right. The next slide, the labor market landscape as well. Here, the next slide. Sorry, back one slide. Okay, this one, as you can see, this is the vacancies, retrenchment, and employment rate and GDP growth. As you can see, this exhibit indicates increased number of job vacancies, analyzed against other indicators to explain the fluctuations and determine their impact on the labor market and vice versa. As you can see, from 2016 until 2019, the vacancies reported is at the blue chart. You can see there. And then just to inform also the audience that the vacancies taken there is from the portal Jobs Malaysia we have under the Department of Labour, Peninsula Malaysia, and also Sabah Sarawak under the Ministry of Human Resources. But for 2020, because Ilmia, we also have this product under Big Data Analytics. We have the job market insight, and the data that we have acquired comes from, first, of course, from Jobs Malaysia until 2019. But come 2020, the first the first 2 quarters is actually taken from Jobs Malaysia data, and also we did a rep scraping into 4 private portals to look into the job vacancies available in these particular portals. But for the quarter 4 of 2020, as you can see there, there's only employers putting advertisements, but we have yet to come up with the figure of vacancies because we are still cleansing up the data, and we are having discussion with the My Future Jobs from Perkeso. As you can see, in quarter 1 2020, the job vacancies is reported at 119,000, but it drops to 46,000 vacancies only in quarter 2 of 2020. This is mainly due to the MCO imposed by the government. But the vacancies pick up during the quarter 3 of 2020, where it recorded 124,000 vacancies from this Job Malaysia portal and also the 4 private portals that I mentioned earlier. Hopefully by this month, maybe we can come up with the figure of quarter 4 after we have several discussion with the My Future Jobs Secretariat in Perkeso to look into the vacancies posted in their portal. Okay, the next slide. The labor market pillars and focus area. I put it this way, the next slide. There are 3 pillars of labor market. First is, of course, the workforce. Second is the workplace, and also the third is jobs. So when you talk about workforce, of course, there are issues of lifelong learning. The elements are lifelong learning. We must have skilled workers. We must have high labor force participation rate, and of course, I put there also less dependence on foreign workers. On the workplace, normally when we talk about workplace, we look into the environment, working environment, how we look into the welfare of the workers, all right, the labor law and whatnot. So I put there decent work. This is under ILO, the decent work agenda, the standard and rights at work, employment creation and entrepreneurship development, social protection, social dialogue, and also legislation reforms. Talking about jobs is, of course, about creation of good quality jobs, skills requirement, and also equitable wages. Next slide, the labor market focus area and also output. I put it into 4 clusters. The focus area of course, first is job creation scenario. I will talk a bit about our job creation scenario in Malaysia and also the issues and challenges we are facing. And second is on human resource development. This is where we look into the reskilling, upskilling issue, and how do we tackle the mismatch issue that we have been facing for quite many years now. Okay, and the third one is labor administration and industrial relations. And the fourth focus area is social protection and occupational safety and health. Why I don't only if you go by the theme on human resource development, most people will feel that we only need to talk about job creation and human resource development. But for me, it is also important to look into the focus area of 3 and 4, because the 3 and 4 will actually have a very strong, because if we don't look or take care of the area of labor administration and social protection, it will be a very huge interruption to our development of human resource or human capital. Okay, and of course the output here is to human capital that meets labor market demand and also inclusive and equitable employment and ecosystem. The next slide. On the job creation scenario, next one. Of course, the ideal situation will be the creation of good quality jobs. When I mention ideal situation, it means that a good quality job is one which matches the economic trajectory of the country, best utilizes the skill sets of the worker, enables further skill development, and ensures well-being of the worker. But of course, we cannot run away from the issues and challenges that we are facing, because we notice that in Malaysia, we still faced with the labor-intensive and low-cost modes of production. And this is still a main concern even to large companies that we have. Low technology adoption among businesses, especially the SMEs. Skill job creation may not keep up with the increase of local skill workforce. Okay, so we produce many skill workforce, but the job created is not really suitable for the skilled workforce that we are creating. Risk of further brain drain enabled by technology and driven by lack of good quality jobs or wages. And also more than half of all current jobs in Malaysia are at high risk of being affected also by automation. So what is labor intensive and low cost modes production? Okay, the next slide. We can see here that this is still one of the main issue that we are facing, because we see that many companies are still harping on labor intensive, in which when we mention about labor intensive here, we can't run away from asking for more workers to join the organization for the production and whatnot. So this is where the problem has been is created especially on the demand of low skilled foreign workers. We believe that because you can see from the slide, the FDI trends have shown demand for low skilled foreign workers and less technology transfer. This has been an issue for many years in Malaysia. That's the reason why through MIDA, we are also trying to bring in more quality investments so that the job created by the investment that we bring in will create more quality jobs for our fellow Malaysians, rather than just a low quality jobs that will only be utilized by the foreign workers or workers from other countries, not our own people. And we can see also that from the breakdown of jobs by non-citizens, half of the non-citizens in Malaysia are actually having a low-skilled job. This is where the foreign workers come in. And as at December 2019, we actually have 1.99 million foreign workers working in Malaysia. But I think due to MCO imposed, and then because of the disruption in business and the labor market, until February of this year, we only have around 1.38 million of foreign workers. So there's a reduction of more than 500,000 of foreign workers. I think this is the best time for us to utilize or optimum our local workforce to enter into the job market, when the government now is actually putting a moratorium on importing or bringing in foreign workers coming from other countries. All right. So of course, in order to also reduce dependence on foreign workers, we must also encourage more adoption of technologies, especially among SMEs, because low technology will normally be relating to asking for more workers, which is low skilled foreign workers. The next slide. We can also see that we are producing more graduates, yeah, but it is not in line with the jobs being put as an advertisement or also the jobs created. You can see from 2015 until 2019, the graduates that we produce is around 270 over 1,000. Until 2019, we have around 340,000 graduates that we produce, but then the vacancies is only around 230,000, and 2019 is even reduced further to 198,000 only, and the jobs created is only 103,000 compared to 300 over thousand of graduates produced by the country. This is one of the reasons why we have double-digit unemployment among youth, or also we have a high double-digit for the unemployed graduates. Yeah. Also, the next slide, we can see that more than half of all current jobs in Malaysia are at high risk of being affected by automation. And you can see high risk is around half of our current jobs, and the high risk is coming also from the semi-skilled jobs. And 60% of employed workers in 2019 in Malaysia are having semi-skilled jobs. So if this job is being affected by automation, so more of the people under semi-skilled will be jobless in the future. This is the anticipation. Yeah. Okay. Another aspect of job creation scenario is equitable wages. The next slide. Okay. Why we talk about equitable wages? We are saying that all workers should be recognized and compensated in a fair and equitable manner for the value of their labors. Yeah. Okay, of their labor. So of course we are facing issues and challenges. We know that in Malaysia we have minimum wage, but before minimum wage is introduced in Malaysia, wages is actually determined only by market forces. But we see that the market forces does not really work. Maybe except in certain organization where there is a collective bargaining process or collective agreement between the union and the employers, maybe the salary is a bit reasonable in that particular organization or certain sectors where the unions are there. But without intervention from other factors, we can see that the minimum the salary is paid very low to Malaysian workers, and sometimes it's not in line with the qualification that they have. So we can see here the issues and challenges. Yeah? Malaysia workers are paid lower compared to developed nations, and of course difficulties by when you are paid less, lower difficulties faced by the lower income household to afford decent standard of living, and growth rates of real starting salaries also for fresh graduates and tertiary qualifications are declining, and we are also having an issue of widening gap between top management and owners and also employees. Okay, when we talk about Malaysian workers are paid lower to compared to developed nations for the same output, the next slide. We can see here the ratio of wages to productivity. Malaysian workers are paid, you can see here, if you compare to Singapore, right? Skilled, we are paid only at 4,000, but in Singapore, they are paid 8,000. For semi-skilled, we are only paid, what, 1,700? In Singapore, they are paid 3,000. That's the reason why also when ICHRD did a study before this in 2016 and 2018, one of the main factor why around 200 to 300,000 Malaysians working in Singapore, either commuting or staying there, the main reason is actually salary. They are because they are having a better pay in Singapore compared to Malaysia. Of course, the exchange rate is also another factor looking into this. Yeah, all right. And then the next slide is lower income household face difficulties to afford a standard of living, and then this issue is also further exacerbated by various challenges in the implementation of minimum wage. Yeah, because we introduced minimum wage way back in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. During that time, the rate for Peninsular Malaysia and Sabah Sarawak are different, but currently now it's already being made standard in Peninsular and Sabah Sarawak as well. While last time we introduced different minimum wage, is because we look into the median wage factor, in which median wage shows the ability or the capability of employers to pay, in which we see that from Sabah Sarawak, the employers, the capability to pay is lower than employers in Peninsular Malaysia. However, this situation has changed because there's also argument that the standard or the cost of living in Sabah Sarawak is higher from Peninsular Malaysia. So why are they being paid less when they actually the cost of living in Sabah Sarawak is higher? So there are also, these are the issues faced by the government, and then these are the elements or indicators that we have to take into account when we impose the minimum wage in Malaysia. All right. Okay, the job creation scenario, the next slide. Job vacancies and job placement. This one is only taken from the unemployment insurance system data that we have. This one is only on the placement trend. You can see that the placement trend in this year, the orange color. This is not actually to portray the whole placement trend in Malaysia, but I think placement is very important now, especially when we have employment insurance system, because they are under employment insurance system. We try to match the vacancies with those the insured person under employment insurance, ensure that they get job within the 6 months when they file a case or claim at the employment insurance system, because they will be paid job seeking allowance, and of course we try to place them into jobs as soon as possible, so that they will be employed. And then of course, if there is a problems in putting them into new jobs, there are also area where employment insurance system will provide upskilling and reskilling to those insured person. Okay, I would like also to share the next slide here that we have. I mentioned earlier that we have the job market insights. We can see here from the job market insight what we have. What we have in the slide here is regarding the total job vacancies that advertised in Malaysia. It's only from Jobs Malaysia that we are taking Jobs Malaysia, and also 4 private portals. And we can see that the total of job vacancy reported has dropped 61.1% due to the MCO. This is what I mentioned earlier. So you can see from quarter 3, and then we have until quarter 4 2019. But quarter 4 2019 we have 152,000 vacancies. But in quarter 1 we have 119, but it further dropped up to only down to 46,499 in quarter 2 of 2020. And we look at the next slide on the hottest job that we have. Okay, the hottest job here, if you look into the in quarter 3 until quarter 2, is not so much of difference. The first one still stationary plant and machine operators, not elsewhere classified, but of course the numbers has reduced from 32,000 to only 11,000. And then in quarter 3 2019 we have advertising and marketing professionals. These are the jobs advertised mostly in our job portals in Malaysia. So we can see what are the type of sectors or occupations that is being demanded by the employers in Malaysia. So there's only difference. You can look at the red arrow, in which the advertising second place in 2019 but falls to third place in 2020 during the MCO or during the pandemic. And then this is the hottest job. You can see from the slide. The next slide is on the industry. Okay, the next slide. Okay, job market. This one is by industry. You can see the top 5 industry. Of course, the first one is always manufacturing. Yeah, the first one from last year until from 2019 until 2020 is always the manufacturing. The slight difference is only for professional and the accommodation and food service activities in 2014 as at level 4. And then in 2020 quarter 2 we have the financial and insurance takaful activities, but manufacturing is always on the top for the industry seeking for people to seeking for job seekers or workers. Yeah, okay. And I move to the next area, that is the human resource development. Next slide. Human resource development. Okay, next slide. On good quality education, inclusive and accessible. So this will be the key determinant to whether the workforce is able to adapt to the future needs of the economy. So we have education, but whatever we produce from our education system must be able to meet the demand of industry. Yeah. So we can see the issues and challenges. There is a high level of underemployment among graduates due to mismatch in skills. I think mismatch is a very popular word. When I joined the government in 97, I've heard about this mismatch word. And now after 24 years, 25 years of service, the word mismatch is still there. So of course, we can't really hapuskan mismatch altogether, but how to reduce the gap in mismatch, because we must make sure whatever we produce is what the industry wants. Okay, the gaps in quality of TVET education, primarily due to fragmented institution structure, talent demand supply, workers' participation in upskilling, reskilling, and also declining role enrollment in STEM. In STEM, among STEM is science, technology, engineering, and also mathematics. We have declining enrollment in STEM. Okay, the next slide is the high level of unemployment and underemployment among fresh and experienced. You can see that there is a percentage there. The skilled is around 27% unemployed, and then on semi-skilled we have 49%. This is meaning to say that 28% of unemployed persons in 2019 have skilled qualification. All right. So even skilled qualification also unemployed. All right. So there's no guarantee that we are a graduates that will be employed in our labor market. Yeah. And 1/3 of the fresh graduate employed in semi and low skilled jobs. So this is what we take it as underemployment. Underemployment is not only very few working hours, but also where graduates are also working in areas that is semi-skilled or low skilled. We can't say that it is sometimes when there are no jobs available that commensurate with your degrees, the degree or qualification, we tend to take whatever we have first, right? And during that time, we try to look for a better job that suit or in line with our qualification. But we can see that 1/3 of the fresh graduates in 2019 were employed in semi and low skilled jobs. So meaning to say they study until degree or higher, but they're working only in areas where diploma or SPM only required for that particular job. All right. The next one is declining interest in STEM, which may lead to declining talent pipeline. The next one is on STEM. Next slide, please. Okay, to support the future job landscape, you can see that 65% of the primary school children today will end up with jobs do not exist today. Yeah, this is what we are very worried of. And you can see also the science stream enrollment of upper secondary students in science stream has declined. And for science stream and non-science stream, is higher for non-science stream rather than science stream. So it's reduced in 2014 around 28% STEM, but now reduced to 21%. So there's also with all these industry 4.0 with the introduction of AI and whatnot. So we need more students or more workforce in STEM rather than in science social. Yeah. In not science social, sorry, non-science stream. Okay. The next one is technical vocational and education training or TVET. I put here the ideal TVET ecosystem, where of course the ideal TVET ecosystem is where courses that are industry focused. So we must have more collaboration with industry so that whatever we produce from the TVET line is actually what the industry wants. Yeah? We should create high income earners, because one of the problem we notice is that TVET graduates normally they are not getting premium from their qualification, even though they have SKM3 or they have diploma level, but normally the pay that they're getting is only slightly higher than minimum wage, maybe by 50 ringgit or 100 ringgit. And some of them even enter with a minimum wage, which is no difference from SPM leavers. Yeah. And of course, promoting lifelong learning and as well as a well-integrated education system. Of course, this ideal TVET ecosystem is to be supported by robust and effective governance, efficient and productive operating model, of course, world-class quality of learning, harmonized and seamless TVET pathway, sustainable TVET funding model, and work esteem and branding of TVET. I think the government has put many efforts to mainstream TVET in our country, so that TVET will be the main choices for students and parents to go besides the academic line, right? But of course, we also face issues and challenges because we have fragmented TVET delivery, hindering collaboration, because we have many ministries and agencies having TVET institution under them. We are not saying that only one ministry should have, but I think we should streamline also the courses introduced by those TVET institutions, because sometimes we can see in one state or one area, one district, there are 2-3 TVET institutions coming from different agencies offering almost the same courses. So it will also affect the student the student enrolled for these particular institutions if it is all in one area. All right. Suboptimal student capacities and underutilization of equipment. This is what I mentioned before. And also we noticed that the TVET instructors lack of industry experience. It's not all. TVET instructors lack industry experience and attachment. I think under JPK or Jabatan Pembangunan, we have the e-profiling for the TVET instructors in which we assess where are the instructors, because we notice that many of them also still having lack of industry experience, and it is very difficult when you lack industry experience, but at the same time you need to teach the students on this hands-on using machines and whatnot when you are actually lacking in that particular area. So this is something that we have to look into, maybe further collaboration with the industry where we have the industry experts coming to teach as instructor when we send our instructors for attachment at their industry as well. So this can be done maybe on MOU basis, whatever agreement that we can have with the industry. And current curriculum lack emphasis on soft skills and work attitude. It's not only a statement. We did a study to develop the national human, not national human resource blueprint, to develop TVET master plan. So based on our survey, the industries are saying that yes, many of the students, they have the skill, but they lack of soft skill and they are not good at the work attitude. So maybe I'm afraid that maybe sometimes we go too much to the not to the hands-on, but to the theoretical part, and sometimes the soft skills is not there. So this is also area that we have to look at. The limited mobility, the vertical and horizontal across the Malaysian qualification framework, because we have the MQF, at the same time we have NOS as well. So they need to be streamlined as well. And majority funding for public TVET institution is provided by the government. So how to make it sustain, because it is increasing every year. So of course the government may have to resort to alternative funding rather than all coming from the government. And of course, although I said that we try to mainstream TVET, but TVET is still perceived as a last resort education by students and parents. Normally, those coming into TVET are those getting orang kata apa, third grade of SPM or second grade of SPM, or if you cannot get to university, then we go to TVET. It's not the first choice. It's not the first choice. So we have to work harder to mainstream TVET in Malaysia. The next one is, of course, on human resource development is workforce optimization. The next slide, please. Okay, we need to maximize economic growth without continued reliance on foreign labor. So this is why I put here the workforce optimization. How are we to utilize our workforce optimally? Yeah, we have the challenges or issues here: the low participation of elderly persons in the labor market. Yeah. Low participation of women, primarily due to education or work responsibility, and also a special group, and also maybe lack of emphasis to support flexible working arrangement, and also unemployment among youth. And of course, the last one I put there, reduce the dependency on foreign workers. Okay, the next slide. We can see here low participation of elderly persons in the labor market. We can see for Malaysia is only 34%. Yeah, compared to other countries that is there, so only 34%. And the next slide, you can see that the next slide. In the period of 2015, 2015 to 2019, the unemployment rate among the old age, age 55 until 64, steady at below 1%. However, the unemployment rate among old age jumps to 4.2% in Q3. This may be because of the COVID-19 because affecting older workers, because they are also the vulnerable group. Yeah, all right. And for the female, next slide, female labor force participation rate. Malaysia is the third lowest female labor force participation rate in ASEAN region. Of course, the issues is there: work-life balance, equal pay, career opportunities, harassment, and also childcare. And the next one, low participation of women in the labor market is also primarily due to family responsibilities. The next slide. I'm only half of my slide now, halfway through. I will try to breeze through all the slides. Yeah, okay. This is unemployment among youth. The next slide. Have remained high over the years compared to older age group. So I've already mentioned among youth, including the unemployed graduates. Okay, the next one. is on dependence on foreign workers. We can see that we have 1.99 million foreign workers December, but only this year we have 1.3 million. So maybe we can try to maintain this particular scenario so that we can have more of our locals entering the labor market rather than bringing foreign workers coming from other countries. Yeah. Okay. The next area is focus area labor administration and industrial relations. The next slide. Okay, next one. Okay, I talk about decent work here, but of course, decent work, as I mentioned, is about working environment, social protection, social dialogue, and social area of welfare of the workers in the workplace. Okay, is heavily formal worker centric. We have all the labor laws to cover formal workers. Unfortunately, we don't have appropriate law to cover the informal sector. Like for now, we have many gig workers, but they are not covered under our labor law. So we should look into that, including the aspect of social protection and also occupational safety and health. Yeah. All right. I will jump this slide. The next one. Okay, next one. The next one as well. The next slide. Okay, this is the 27 laws and regulations we have in Malaysia, all on labor administration, social protection, occupational safety and health, human resource development, and also industrial relations. These are all the laws that we have in Malaysia. And mainly, if you look into the next slide, what we have mainly on decent work or workplace environment, we have the Employment Act, the next one. Employment Act 1955. The next slide, please. Okay, we have 1955, but please don't look at the law, at the year of the law, because we will say that it's very old law, yes, but it has been amended 11 times, and it's going to be amended again this year, and it has gone through many developments to bring it into more modern and to be more versatile with the current situation. We try to tackle many issues on forced labor issue, also to be in line with international labor standards, and also to see how we can enhance the effective management of foreign workers. And last but not least, to strengthen the activities of enforcement. The next slide is on the trade unions. Trade unions law is also one of the area that we are looking into. We want to give more rights to the unions and then lesser rights maybe to the Director General and Minister because we want to be in line with the Convention 87 of ILO on freedom of association. Okay. I go to the last focus area, that is social protection and occupational safety and health. Okay. The next slide. Next. Okay. But looking into this, I think what will be the main issues and challenges is how we are looking into the issue of social protection and OSH for the non-standard employment, the informal sectors, because they have no employer. They are mainly not governed by the law. So how are we to look into that? And then currently we have a few under SOCSO and also under maybe EPF. Yeah? Okay, the next one. The number of self-employed freelancers is on growing trend, but they are not sufficiently protected by the current social protection system. This is the problem that we're having. The gig workers, where are they? How are they protected and whatnot? All right. Okay. There will be an increasing of proportion of elderly population with insufficient savings to lead a decent life. This is something to do with our savings when we are working. Okay. The next one is on SOCSO. Just to mention a bit, a few laws that we have. We have Act 4 that is on social security to cover both citizens and non-citizens. We have Act 789 for the self-employed. This is where maybe the gig workers can also contribute to SOCSO to cover them. And Act 800 is actually employment insurance system that I mentioned earlier. All right. And we have, of course, under the next slide is under occupational safety and health. All right, we have Factories and Machinery Act, and we have also Occupational Safety and Health Act. But I believe now the move of the government is to merge these two laws into one law, to have a comprehensive law on occupational safety and health, and to have it on more self-regulatory mechanism. The next slide. This is the proposed amendments looked into by the government now. And then, of course, there are 4 areas: the applicability, risk assessment, obligation of principle, and also workers' rights to be in line with Convention 155 of the International Labour Organization. Okay, the last slide, the way forward. I just have one slide for this way forward. Okay, recovery initiative and reform initiative. Recovery, why? Recovery is the short-term one, where on future skills development, the improved employment, social safety net, and also enhanced job redeployment and program. And of course, the reform initiative, we should mitigate the education and also job mismatch, because this is our long pending issue. we should optimize foreign workers. Currently, we are having lesser foreign workers, and also how are we looking into our wage transformation so that our workers will be paid better than currently. So I think that's all. I keep this my presentation here. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Puan Betty, for sharing very valuable information and those updates about our labor market issues. And well, we actually are overwhelmed by long list of questions from our audience. And oh yeah, before that, two things that really caught my eyes. The first thing is the job vacancies have dropped by 61% due to MCO. And the second thing is lecturing is not the hottest job.
Yeah, it's not. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not. It is most business oriented and profit oriented rather than lecturing. Yes.
Hard feelings
right.
lecturing. Okay. Okay. Anyway. Well, I would like to use my privilege as the moderator for these sessions to ask you the first questions. Yeah. Last year, I remember that I read one article about graduate mismatch in Malaysia and the possibility of pandemic to inflate the size of graduate mismatch in Malaysian's labor market. So what's your opinion about that, Madam Betty?
On the graduate mismatch in Malaysia, the question just not posted here, right?
Yes.
Okay. As I mentioned, I think during my talk, it is a long pending issue. I don't think we can get rid of it totally. But I think what we are doing now, currently, we do have like the programs like 2U2I, you see, the 2 years in university, 2 years in industry. That is, I think that is one of the best way where we can reduce the mismatch, because whatever that we have in our syllabus, when the students are undergoing the courses they have in universities, it must also always match what the industry wants. Because we always have the complaint from the industry saying that our graduates does not really fulfill whatever the employers want. So I believe that we should have a stronger collaboration with the industry, and the industry must be able to work with us as well. I mean, I believe when the universities or the institutions, they want to even introduce a new module of courses and whatnot, they must have collaboration with industry first, right? But I'm not sure really how. Is it you engage the industry, or do you wait for the industry to come to you? And normally, how far do you take into consideration whatever views given by industry? Because what they want is actually what we should produce. Of course, it's not a very short time to tackle this particular issue. It will take time. We will not, get away with this problem totally, but I believe it can be reduced. Even for TVET institution, I believe we should have more time for practical or interns rather than only on the theoretical side. And I believe the government have this system latihan dual nasional that is very, very, very effective. Only that I'm a bit sad because the private sector still needs to be paid incentive for SLDN, even though it's actually meant for their own benefits at the end of it. Because whatever we have during the SLDN is actually producing those graduates or the students that will perform or will fit into the organization. So that's my opinion. Right.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. And the key word here is collaborations with the industry. So I'll take note of that, and more collaborative work hopefully coming to, in between the industry and also the university. And the next question is, what is the employability rates of international students in Malaysia during this pandemic period? And I believe this question is from our Chinese student from mainland China. So yeah, he would like to know what is the chances of working here during this pandemic.
If you ask me about the rate, I'm sorry, I don't have the rate. I think my charts also does not show any rates on international students working in Malaysia. But I believe if don't put it as international students, if the students is actually studying in the area and is being produced in the area where the industry demands for it, then of course there will be the opportunities of employability in Malaysia. But of course, I have to tell that, of course, as a government, we have to prioritize our local graduates before taking international students to work in our organization. But of course, we give it also a discretion to the companies to also employ international students. So if you ask me employability rate, I think it's also the same as our local students, not only international students. It depends on what are the areas that they are studying in, and also whether it's being demanded by the companies. Yes.
And we receive a lot of questions actually in the comments, and unfortunately we're running out of time. We have
Yeah.
to give, we have to give to the next keynote speaker or speech. Therefore, I do believe that we have come to the end of our session with Puan Betty. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to thank again Puan Betty for being here with us in this conference. And to our audience, please stay here because we are going to start very soon our next keynote speech by Encik Shazmi Ali from Shell Malaysia. So thanks again, Puan Betty, and thanks again to all of you, and see you in the next event. Bye.
Thank you, Dr. Azim. Thank you. Bye.
Okay.